the Banner Spear. She's a tank, she's got the highest health track, and her play revolves around an ally positioning mechanic. So to pull off a lot of your attacks, you're gonna need to have an ally in the right spot. That's a bit scary. When I first saw this class, I thought, man, this is a bit crazy for new players to have to think about exactly where people are going to be positioned. And so we're going to talk about, can new players really even pull this off, or is it going to be a little bit too hard? And then how the class actually works. Are banners worth it? And which cards are the best? Stick with me. We'll go through every card that we've currently got at level 1. At all costs. Top is a very powerful heal. It has no range requirements, which is always really nice. And if you're playing with somebody who's got some tanky summons that need healing, you can get, 15, 18 heal with this card. It gets pretty out of control. You do take a damage each time though, but it's okay because you're on the high health track. And then the initiative at 60, not the greatest. But the bottom summon reinforcement is what I use this card for mostly, because it's really helpful for pulling off all of your other abilities, especially stuff like Tip of the Spear and Resolved Courage, because they can sit behind you safely, and so you're not putting your summon in danger, and you can easily pull off these moves without involving another player. And that's what I think they've really done right with this class, is adding stuff like this, and then adding some summon movement or ally movement mechanics really makes it, better than it would be otherwise, I guess. So this is a key card. I'm 100% always taking this card with me. Unbreakable Wall. Top is a very good attack. We can hit up to 3 targets, although that pattern is going to be pretty tough. And also very hard to use your reinforcement for this and keep it alive, because if you look at the picture here, the 2 monsters on the left are both going to focus on your summon, because your summons always go just a little bit faster than you. So best to use this one with an ally. Initiative 83, it's one of our later initiatives, pretty good. And then the bottom is also very good, and I actually used it more for this. I liked playing the Banner Spear up close and personal, and permanent 1 shield, especially at level 1, is very powerful. And then losing a range on your attacks, it's not that big a deal for this class. I mean, there's another class, and I won't spoil anything, in Gloomhaven that has a persistent shield, and you actually lose 1 off your movement, I believe. And that's way harder to deal with than losing 1 off your ranged attacks. So I played it mostly for the bottom. Javelin. A nice solid ranged attack to complement all of our melee moves for when things aren't going to make sense, or when we're not going to be able to get the right pattern, to keep our reinforcement alive, or even to pull off an attack. Nothing special, but 3 attack at 3 range, although it's going to be 2 range if you're playing, the bottom of Unbreakable Wall. It does produce air, that's going to be nice. Decent initiative at 21. Bottom is quite useful too for moving monsters into the right position to pull off an attack. And so move 1 and pull 2 at range 3 is going to be quite useful for us. I played this card probably 50-50 for the top or bottom. It doesn't look like a ton, but it's actually just one of those really good Swiss Army knife kind of cards that's pretty much always going to be useful. Hey everybody, right now I've got a Frosthaven pledge giveaway live. It goes until March 28th, 2021. Make sure and check the description for the link so that you can get yourself a chance to win a pledge of Frosthaven. Deflecting Maneuver. The top of this card is just a little bit weak. It's attack 2. All attacks this round give you disadvantage, or they have disadvantage on their attack, so it's okay. It's a bit like an attack 2 shield 1, let's call it, close to that. So not too bad. Initiative at 15 is quite good. And then the bottom, shield 2, but only against ranged attacks. If you've got an archer heavy level, this can actually be pretty good. That being said, I almost never played it for a couple reasons. One is Unbreakable Charge is just more useful overall. You only have to play it once, and then you've got shield 1 permanently against everything. So I usually played that. And then with the banner spear, she needs to move around a lot to pull off her attacks. I mean, very rarely did I feel like I could sit still and be effective. Really, the only time would be, you know, where you use a range attack like Javelin or something else. That's really the only time you'd be able to pull this off. And so most of the time, and I'm tipping my hand here, I left this card, you know, behind in the sidebar. Rallying Cry. And I'm going to talk about the bottom first on this. So this is the first of our 2 banners at level 1, and it is very, very good. At first, when I first looked at this class, I thought, the banner's too range. You know, we're always trying to move and position so that, you know, we can do our special attacks and we've got to position allies and stuff. This is a very, very good card because we've got a couple of, you know, ally movement cards. These count as allies. We can drag them around behind us. And so it's actually really, really good. I'll talk about the other banner later and whether we should be taking that. But I really like this banner. And especially if you've got some other summons out and they're nearby. I mean, if you've got 5 people getting +1 to an attack per round, this card's definitely going to be worth it. And then the top is actually very good as well. Being able to disarm really helps us with our reinforcement. The number one problem I feel is that pulling off some of these moves is going to put your reinforcement in danger. And you can use allies, like actual human allies and stuff, but I preferred to play more with my reinforcement because it's really hard to talk with your friends about exactly where they're going to be. You can get some information, but I felt it was a little bit cumbersome. I like to play the game, you know, without saying exactly what I'm doing, so I felt like I wanted to use the reinforcement more. Anyways, this card is good for that because it actually disarms the monster, and so if you can keep your reinforcement away from another monster so it's not being targeted, you can position however you want. And don't forget, you can rotate these patterns, all of these positional patterns, you can rotate them around so that, you know, it doesn't always have to be exactly like that. So you can rotate like this, and then you can also mirror. Don't forget that when you're thinking about like, how do I make this work? You can mirror the pattern as well. Hope you're liking the video so far. If you are, it really helps me out a lot if you go ahead and hit that like button. So if you could, please go ahead and do that. And subscribing helps as well. Turn on notifications so that when I publish new content, you're notified. And I've got a great video. It's going to be on this side. So go ahead. I'm going to put a link to it. Go ahead, check it out. Tip of the spear. Top is an awesome attack for a bunch of different reasons. Attack 3 is decent. Pierce 3 is amazing. I mean, equivalent is attack 6 if you've got a shield with 3 or an enemy with 3 shield. I mean, you're going to be taking this card with you pretty much all the way through to level 9. Even without looking at the cards, I'm making that statement. Hopefully I don't eat my words later, but it's one of those cards that, you know, Pierce 3 is going to be really good. Then you can hit 2 targets. Also very, very good. And it's actually really easy to keep your summon alive with this one because you just get to plunk them directly behind you. And so it's a very safe positional play. You don't have to rely on your allies, whatever. And then 67 initiative. I mean, it is what it is. The bottom move 4, also very good utility for this class. Sometimes you're going to need a big move if you've spent your bottom action moving banners around and you haven't moved yourself or something like that. You're going to need, you know, a big move, and it also helps to reposition. Like if you use a jump and this, you can pretty much get wherever you want to pull off something like your pincer attack or whatever. This card's awesome. Combined effort. Another great card. That's kind of a theme for the Banner Spear, actually. Super simple to pull off. You don't even really need your reinforcement. Just sidle up to an ally and you've got this done. And also don't forget you can mirror it, so you can go on the left or the right hand side. Initiative at 32. It's creeping into that no good area. You know me, I don't like anything in the 30s. But the bottom on this card is so good. It is so good. You have no idea how much you're going to love this card every time you get to play it. You get to move yourself And then 2 allies within range 2 may perform move 2. It is so useful for this class to double move your reinforcement, move your torchbearer, drag your banner along with you. This card is awesome. Set for the charge. And the wording on this one is a bit weird. Like if you look at the red guard and you have, Flame Shroud, it says anytime a monster enters a hex adjacent to you. And this one says anytime a monster moves into a hex adjacent to you. So what I'm thinking is, set for the charge. You're setting up and, you're spearing somebody or something as they move in towards you. So I'm reading it as if they move into a hex. I don't know if this works with pull because they're not actually moving, you're dragging them. And also, I don't think it works. And somebody correct me if I've, misread this. But if I'm already in there, Banner Spear moves in, let's say attacks. Now, I don't think there's going to be any damage done when the Banner Spear actually moves into range. So, to me, this is actually a retaliate maybe slightly worse. Because it's better in a couple ways. One, a disarmed monster, melee or ranged, is going to focus on you and move in close even if they can't attack. So it's better than disarm if they just move in and take damage and don't attack you. Also, there are some monsters that like to loot and they still focus on you when they loot. So they're going to move into range and you're going to do damage. But if I'm reading it right and you move in with the Banner Spear and you attack, normally with retaliate, as they attacked you back, anyone who's left alive attacks you back, you're going to get retaliate. But in this case, you wouldn't get any damage. Let me know down in the comments how you read this card and what you think of it. The initiative at 6 though is really good, and the bottom move 4 is actually, very useful for us at 6 initiative. So still overall, even with all the things going on with the top, it's a pretty good card for the move and the initiative. Pincer movement. And this card, it can be a little bit tough to pull off unless you're kind of thinking about it differently. So because you can mirror it, what I did is I was always the person on the opposite side. So I would use something like the move 4 with winged shoes or something and jump to the other side. All you really have to do is jump to an unoccupied hex opposite one of your allies, and you can use Pincer movement. Attack 5 Muddle at level 1 is going to be really strong, especially because, it's not even a loss. It would almost be okay for a loss, and yet it's repeatable. So that's what you got to do. You got to use your moves to jump on the other side, and use your actual human allies to be the other side of the pincer, and it's actually not that hard to pull off. You may draw a decent amount of aggro though, because you're on the other side of the monster. So that's why I like to have, the bottom of Unbreakable wall out. And then the bottom of this, one move, loot 1. It's actually decently useful. There are going to be times when moving 1 is actually going to be enough to reposition yourself. Rarely is move 0 enough, aka standing still. Move 0. Well done, James. Standing still is really enough, but move 1 can be enough, and then the loot 1 is going to help you because you're actually in melee range, a ton, and so you're going to be in there killing monsters, and it can help you pick up loot. And the initiative, I'm not even going to mention that initiative. Regroup. Heal 2, regenerate, range 2, pretty solid utility. This is a good in-between rooms play to heal somebody up and then let them get a couple turns of regenerate before they take damage. And if they can last for a while without taking damage, you can do a really good strong heal with this. Initiative at 20 is pretty decent. And then the bottom, 2 allies within range 3 may perform move 3. This is really good. This is really good. You can also just move your friends around and be like, hey, sorry, you're going to be part of one of my attacks and I'm moving you. Really good. I still like combined effort better. Well, I still like being able to move and then move allies, but still very good, useful bottom. I played it 9 times out of 10 for the bottom. Resolved Courage. The power of Immobilize is immobilizing quickly in a round and then having the ability to move away. So to set this one up, I like going late letting monsters move towards the party, myself, the banner spear, and then going quick next turn. And this initiative at 10 is very good for that. And I would almost always use something like combined effort, drag my reinforcement in behind me, and then immobilize, and then get out of dodge. And then the reinforcement is one space away, so mostly safe unless they pull one of those tricky ranged attacks that some melee monsters have, one card. But most of the time, going late and then going quickly and moving away, this worked very well. I'm always trying to use immobilize that way if I can, because it effectively stuns melee monsters. I mean, pseudo stun, right? Yeah, initiative 10, very good. The bottom, I didn't use this a lot. I always wanted, I shouldn't say always, I mostly wanted to move and not just sit still. Once in a while, you'll get a couple with this. Unbreakable wall, top, you could theoretically get, 3 extra attack with this. That's not going to happen very often, though. Usually this is good for 1 or 2, but it's tough to pull off your positioning mechanics and use this bottom. So I didn't really use it a lot. Incendiary throw. This top to me is weird. It's not that powerful. It's attack 1, range 3, and then if you do damage to the target, all adjacent targets become wounded. But wound is generally more useful against tough shielded enemies rather than some unshielded, 25 hit point monster. And so it doesn't make sense to me. It's like, okay, hit a non-shielded monster, and then you'll need shielded monsters around them to wound. And that's really how it felt to me, like where it would be most effective is you've got to hit a non-shielded enemy and then wound shielded enemies. In practice, it doesn't work that well, because if you're using this to attack a shielded enemy, how are you going to do damage to them? Yeah, you can pull a modifier, but it's just not reliable at all. You've pretty much got to gamble, and then, what are you going to wound? 2, 3 more monsters? If you could reliably wound, like if this was just an automatic attack 1 and wound, it becomes much more viable. I'm not sure why we have this kind of, I don't know what to call it. It doesn't make sense to me, though. Initiative at 22 is fine. Anyone who disagrees with me, please comment. I know once in a while my opinions are maybe a little overly strong. If you do disagree, make sure you let me know. And then the summon Torchbearer. This is actually a pretty decent summon. But I liked using the reinforcement more. And, because I'm using Unbreakable Wall, that puts us down to 9. It's tough to use this one as another loss. So I actually didn't use it a lot. Driving Inspiration. Top is just a good ranged attack. A little bit weak though. Does produce light, which can be handy. Initiative at 18 is pretty good. And then on the bottom we've got the Banner of Hope, which is going to heal. And this one is situationally okay or very, very good. If you've got monsters that are going to poison and wound you, this is amazing. And just remember, if you've got wound and you heal 1, wound goes away, you heal 1. If you've got poison and you heal 1, poison goes away, you heal 0. And if you got both, they both just go away. So if you're getting poisoned and wounded a lot, this is actually a very good card. But generally, I didn't play it because, you can only drag around so many banners and reinforcements and your own allies with you. And, I'm generally in the camp of doing damage is better than healing. So, I used my +1 attack banner quite a bit more than this one. What am I taking? I'm taking At All Costs, Rallying Cry, Unbreakable Wall, Javelin, Tip of the Spear, Combined Effort, Set for the Charge, Pincer Movement, Regroup, Resolved Courage. What am I leaving behind? Deflecting Maneuver. It's just not quite good enough. The bottom shield is good against ranged attacks, but I prefer using Unbreakable Wall and just having that permanent 1 shield. It's better to be able to move most of the time with your bottom actions. And then Driving Inspiration, damage is greater than healing, and the top is not quite strong enough. And then Incendiary Throw, the top is too finicky. Gloomhaven is kind of a game about, minimizing luck and strategy is greater than luck, and I just don't like the mechanic on the top. I don't think this is good enough. And then the bottom, there's just other losses that we can play that are, better. Our banner and unbreakable wall, stuff like that. So, can new players play this class? I think that new players are going to struggle a lot. And you're watching this video, so you're probably not in that camp. But anybody who's playing this and not really thinking about what they have to do, I think is going to have a reasonable amount of ineffective turns. Not the end of the world, but I think it could be a bit frustrating when you're looking at your cards and you've got, 3 or 4 different configurations, and then you're deciding on whether it's going to be a human ally or your reinforcement or, maybe a random summon like your torchbearer. You've got to take in all those things and try and figure out exactly what you're going to do, where you're going to move. Are you going to drag a banner with you? I feel like it's a very complex class for a novice, for a new player. Experienced players, I think, are going to wreck with this class, though, at level 1. I'm excited to see the rest of the cards because it's actually I believe it's actually a very balanced class. If I was going to rank it, I would say this is like a high A tier class just based upon what I've seen. It's not going to be unbalanced, but it's going to be very good in the right hands. I actually really like the class. After playing with it a bunch, I liked it far more than I thought I was going to. I actually had a ton of fun with it. Thanks so much for watching the video. If you could, go ahead into the description, check out my recommended products. I make a small commission for any of the things that you go and check out. And so to help support my channel, I really need your help. And thank you so much again for watching the video.